pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about some 2018 new releases that I'm excited about. I don't know when I'll get around to reading these. I'm on a strict book buying ban, which for me will probably not end up being a ban, but certainly my book buying budget is sharply curtailed, at least until the fall. But these are books that I'm excited about and hope someone will buy for me. More seriously, I will probably have a certain amount of luck getting access to these almost as soon as they come out on the book subscription Scribd. In fact, the very first one I've already started listening to on audio, and its release day was yesterday. The first one that I'm really excited about was released in the UK yesterday, and how thrilled was I that here in Tokyo, with my American book subscription service, Scribd, I could start listening to it on audio. 3 Things About Elsie by Joanna Cannon. It's her second novel. I quite enjoyed The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, her debut. It hasn't aged as well in my memory as I remember enjoying it at the time, but it was still a solid debut, and I'm really enjoying 3 Things About Elsie. I'll talk more about that in a later video. Another one coming out this month is an Irish novel, and I don't know much about it or the author, but it's called Turning for Home by Barney Norris. All I know is that I read the first paragraph and a half of a review by John Boyne, the author of The Heart's Invisible Furies, where he said it was a wonderful novel and had a fully realized female protagonist or some major female characters, and I was sold. This is not Barney Norris's review. I don't know anything about his stuff, but that was enough for me to be excited about it. I think I trust a novelist's review of another writer's novel more than I do a blurb on the back cover. And the other one coming out this month is The Mermaid Mrs Hancock, a debut by Imogen Hermes Gower. This is a historical novel set in the late 18th century about a man who trades his ship for a not real life, but mermaid corpse. And apparently there is a real mermaid corpse in a museum in London, and this novel's based on that. Somebody on BookTube has already reviewed it and thought it was just so-so, but I'm curious to check it out for myself. There was so much buzz about this debut novel last year, so yeah, I'm curious. In February, posthumous collection of short stories by Denny Johnson, The Largesse of the Sea Maiden, whose debut collection of short stories, don't know when it was published, in the 80s, I believe, Jesus' Son, just knocked my socks off when I read it. I read it the week after he died. I had never read anything by Denny Johnson, and that collection is just to die for, and so I'm very curious to read more. Also in February, an African-American novel that sounds really interesting, An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. It's about a young married couple, the African-American couple. The husband is wrongfully convicted of a crime and imprisoned, and it's what happens to their marriage after that. I haven't read anything by Tayari Jones. A bunch of stuff coming out in March. One that I and Catherine of Literary Prints are quite excited about is a debut novel by an Indian-born Singaporean writer, which is set in Japan, called Rainbirds by Clarissa Goenawan. And this is about a young Japanese woman whose sister dies. She had left the Tokyo family years before and settled in this rinky-dink little town in the countryside, the Japanese countryside, and she's murdered, and her sister goes to settle her affairs. And it's not a murder mystery, I hope, because I don't like mysteries, but it's about the aftermath of that. Another novel from this part of the world that comes out in March is Bury What We Cannot Take by Kirsten Chen. I believe she's an Asian American writer, and I believe this is her debut. But mostly, just look at that cover. I love that cover so much that I don't care. I just want to read the book. But it's about a Chinese family living on a tiny island off the coast of mainland China. And the grandchildren discover their grandma defacing or destroying a picture of Chairman Mao with a hammer, and they report her. Very curious to read it, and just Look at that cover! It was about a decade ago that I read a novella from Nigeria called Beasts of No Nation by Uzodinma Iweala, and it was about child soldiers. And I remember liking it a lot. I don't remember it that well, just I remember that I was quite impressed with it. He was a young man, and I believe his mother was a cabinet minister in the government of the day in Nigeria, but he himself was living in the US. His second novel is coming out in March, called Speak No Evil, and it has a gay male Nigerian protagonist living and studying in America, and with very conservative Nigerian parents. So it's kind of a coming-out gay novel with a Nigerian setting. I believe this is only the second gay-themed novel coming out of Africa that I've ever heard of. What was the lesbian one? I didn't care for it as much as many people loved it. I didn't. I bailed on it, but I'll put it up here. I don't remember the name. And right now, I am loving Shoba Rao's 2016 short story collection, An Unrestored Woman, and her first novel is coming out in March, Girls Burn Brighter. That's all I need to know. I can't wait to read it. And just a few later in the year, in April, Meg Wollitzer's next novel, The Female Persuasion, is coming out. I finally read her novel, The Interestings, which I believe is her most recent novel, but it was published a few years back. I read it last year and just loved it, about a group of artistic kids that form a friendship at an art camp when they're in their preteens or something, and it's about how their friendships continue into their adult lives, and I just thought it was a powerful novel. So anything that Meg Wolitzer writes is of interest to me. And similarly, in September, Kate Atkinson has a new novel coming out, Transcription, which is about a young woman who gets recruited during World War II into the Secret Service, and then it's about her life after that. That's all I need to know, because Kate Atkinson, Life After Life is one of my favorite novels of all time. Certainly within my top 10. And I hope to finally read A God in Ruins this year. And the last one is Sarah Perry in October. Apparently October. I think it's too early to nail that down with any specificity. Her next novel, Malmuth, is coming. I couldn't even find any description of it, but I didn't love The Essex Serpent. Please don't hate me. It was a booktube and litzy and everything darling. I loved the cover. I thought it was very well written, but had some major flaws that made it a 3-star read for me. However, I can appreciate what an amazing writer Sarah Perry is, and of course I want to try her next novel, and I'm rooting for it to be a 5-star read for me and all of you. So those are just some of the 2018 releases that I'm excited about. Are you excited about any of these? Are there any other 2018 new releases you're excited about? Please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.